Hey, what's happening, everybody out there in YouTube and Facebook land? It is I, the big kahuna, Jason Thrifts from the Thrifting Board. And with me today is the founder of Jeans with Joy, Joy Williams. Hello, Joy. How the heck are you?
I'm good, Jason. How are you?
I am dandy. Now, look, we got to talk about something, you and I, and we got to let everyone know what we know because we know the truth.
We do know the truth. And we know that this is like the biggest discussion amongst eBay sellers across the board right now.
We seem to have had a couple of hiccups recently with eBay, which is nothing new, nor is that new with any technology website. But it so happened that this hiccup happened when Joy and I were in Chicago for Ecom Chicago. So as luck would have it, as it was unfolding, I didn't know about it right away because we were busy doing things in Chicago. Brian Burke from eBay was there. So what happens last week? Well, item specifics went poo-poo. It went and then it kind of all disappeared. Now a lot of it disappeared on a lot of different items, but really what was affected the most was clothing. So and within clothing, it was mainly the size that disappeared. So of course, with any hiccup, and we both understand this, people panic, they get worried. But of course, you got to wait a little bit because, of course, with any hiccup, whether it be on Apple, eBay, Amazon, they'll notice it because, of course, 1,000 people will call them in 2 seconds, and then they've got to fix it, which, of course, never is an overnight or an instant thing when you're dealing with technology on a large company here. So we hadn't said anything at first because there wasn't much to say. We all knew it was happening, but Bridget was in the Thrifting Board, at least keeping everyone up to date that we were aware and knew. And then Ecom started, and we were talking to Brian, and things aren't as bad as they seem. Now, we wanted to call this "The Sky Isn't Falling," but I've already had 72,000 videos called "The Sky Isn't Falling." And so it is real info direct from an eBay in regards to the recent item-specific hiccups. So Joy and I corner Brian at his booth and say, "Hey, yo, man, what's going on here? What's happening? Why are these hiccups happening, and what should we do about it?" And Joy then took over the conversation, which is odd that I was quiet, but I was.
So let me back up. So I woke up in my hotel room on Friday at Ecom and saw flames shooting out of my phone because the notifications and the private messages and the entire eBay community freaking out, and what do we do? So I ran and took a shower. I didn't even dry my hair. I ran downstairs. We got to find Brian. We have to get to the bottom of this. So ended up saying, Brian, what happened? You guys broke eBay. And so he and I sat down with his laptop for about 20 or 30 minutes and drafted some listings. And I said, this is not right. This is incorrect. Look, here's the trickle down effect. And I know a lot of you are seeing that. If you change one item specific, is pulling that information to prompt you to add additional ones. And I know some of you have gotten, hundreds and hundreds of listings that they say needed to be updated. So over the course of the weekend, in communication with Brian Burke about the subject, a lot of you have provided a lot of really good information about what you're seeing. And so that information was compiled and sent to Brian. And he did provide this morning some updated guidance versus what was put out into the announcement. And so we wanted to come on and share that info with you to help calm your fears and explain to you exactly what you do and do not need to do at this point. Understand this is contrary to the last announcement that was put out on Friday, but it does come straight from Brian Burke, the head of eBay Community Development, as of this morning.
Right.
Okay. So you're hearing it direct. And I'm going to quote him directly. So I'm going to read this to you. Please let sellers know that our updated guidance is for them not to update listings. We will continue to provide updates on the seller news. We may update daily until we resolve the issue. And so I reached back out and said, I'm going to need more clarification because the announcement says the opposite. He said back, the distinction on the info is for listing. Sellers should not feel like they have to go in and touch existing listings. We could have been clearer. If they revise a listing or create a new listing, they need to provide the item specifics. Now, meaning the applicable item specifics, because part of the hiccup with this is that there are a lot of item specifics in categories with clothing where they do not belong. A dress does not have an inseam. A blazer does not have an inseam. And so then he went on to say, for good to cancel listings, meaning not auctions, when they can update at their own pace. When we are about to require them to update in 2020, we will send a notification. So what that means is ignore the notifications that you are getting to update hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listings. You do not need to do that right now. Where you want to be particularly cautious is, and I have made them aware of this, of the issue where it's no longer an option to choose not applicable for a barcode that is not a traditional 12-digit UPC barcode. Some manufacturers have their own internal things that have never complied with the form field, and we were able to say not applicable, and they took that away. What I've suggested is that they give us back not applicable, and that they open up that form field that exists to whatever characters we need to put in there, not just the traditional format for 12-digit barcodes. I have provided them a list today of missing sizes, missing colors, things that should go away entirely, like fits height. I spent a great deal of time explaining why fits height is a potential item not as described issue. We cannot begin to explain to an internet buyer whether or not a pair of pants might fit them for their height. Some people have a tall torso, some have a shorter torso. That is not a good buyer or seller experience. So there is quite a list that the community has helped to provide that has been conveyed to eBay. They are working, I promise you, based on the time of day which I was still texting with Brian Burke yesterday, they are working on this around the clock. They understand that the timing of this was horrible. They do understand.
Horrible would be an understatement. They're like, hey, let's change the programming of the item specifics at the right at the beginning of Q4. Yeah, that's a good idea. Nope, not a bit. But
yeah.
But with anything, it's still, I mean, I don't know why, Joy, but it still boggles my mind. The amount of people who are, the sky is falling, life is over, here comes the meteor. You know, so when there's a hiccup in some place, this time it was eBay, you know, we all know, we've been on the platform for 20 years. We all know it's going to get worked out. So instead of watching 72 videos saying the sky is falling, eBay's done, instead of going to 82 Facebook groups and complain about it, guess what? Go work on your other platforms. Go work on your Amazon, your Etsy, your Poshmark, your Depop, all the rest of them, because they're not having a big old hiccup right now. They might tomorrow, but they ain't today. So take all that energy and go work on your other listings. It's easy to do. It's easy to get sucked in the negative energy. I saw videos of other YouTubers are saying, you must change all your item specifics right now.
Do not.
And no, don't worry about it. The ship's going to right itself.
It is going to write itself. You know, here's the thing. I worked in technology for years, and it does not matter how carefully you plan things. With a huge platform the size of eBay, when you have a rollout of anything, there can be unintended consequences. Look, not all of these item specifics are a bad thing. And you know, one of the points that I made with eBay is they shouldn't have been rolled out across clothing as a whole. For diabetic socks, compression weight, and you know, things like that makes sense. Autographed or signed makes sense for sports jerseys. It doesn't make sense for pajamas. The character family issue. I know I heard, obviously being Jeans with Joy, heard from a lot of you that your thick stitch jeans were now pulling information for Lilo and Stitch. And when that happens, then that includes additional things, and it's a big onion, and it starts to roll downhill. So, you know, they are working literally to fix this. You know, there is going to be more information coming. And, you know, I know sometimes it feels nameless and faceless, these eBay announcements. And if I could have bottled the concern on Brian Burke's face, you know, as we were walking through all of this, and the concern that he has showed via text and email over the weekend, I promise you that they are as concerned as we are, and they are doing the best they can at this point to fix it. But what I want you to remember is they're trying to fix it the right way. And so, you don't want to fix to become a new problem, right? So we have to give them time. They did take the step to unblock your listings, right? That was the biggest crisis, that your listings were blocked because of these. And so buyers are still finding your items. People are still making sales. Proceed with caution with revisions and new listings, and only choose the item specifics that are applicable. Just because your app or the seller hub on the PC is telling you to make additional changes, you don't need to do it where it doesn't apply.
So Melissa says I've been working on any of my listings regardless of this issue. If I update the item as I go through them, will that be an issue later? Like when they finally fix everything, we'll fix it and I'll be bad. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. They're just saying you don't have to. So, remember back in the day when people would do this mobile compatibility check? I never did that once. And I sell lots of things and I never ever worried about it. I always tell people, I'm like, I ain't worried about it. And now they tell us, don't do that ever again. So, and then Jenny said she was changing a price and that required you to update the inlay and case condition. Yeah. So if you're changing something, it's not going to let you move ahead. But what eBay is telling us is don't sit down and Jason Smith take your 900 listings and go back and add them all tonight. You don't need to do that. So I'm not doing that. I listed some fresh stuff today. I'm working on some fresh stuff tonight. So I ain't stressing about it.
Can you put up Cordiva?
Yep.
Okay. So this comment says, why didn't they make the changes in a beta version first before just rolling out changes unannounced? This was not an unannounced change. It was announced at eBay Open back in July. It was part of the fall seller update. This information has been well communicated. Unfortunately, the update and the rollout had unintended consequences. The idea of it and the intent of it was actually good for us as clothing sellers, and it's good for our buyers. Unfortunately, it didn't work the way that it was intended to. It was too broad. Every good idea for every clothing category was rolled out to all of them. That's why you're being asked for an inseam when you're listing a bra, right? So what they're doing now is twofold. They are trying to clean up the extraining it in categories that it doesn't belong, and somewhere it shouldn't be there at all. Fits height isn't that should just not be. And they expressed to me that they understand now why that isn't good for buyers or sellers. The sky is absolutely not falling, Sally. I know it feels like it, and I know that this is panic inducing. And I know that, everyone who calls into eBay seems to be getting a different answer, which is why I said, to Ryan today, can you be quoted on this? Let's get the word out. Anytime there are changes, people panic, even when they are good changes. People don't like change. But, for those of you who were at Ecom Chicago and heard the Ecom Titan Talk panel that I was on, and I said to you, the time to be listing on other platforms is not when you need them. This is exactly what I meant. Okay, if eBay hadn't backed down and they were still blocking your listings, your items would be on Poshmark or Mercari or Etsy. So if you are not already diversified, this should be a big wake-up call to you to get diversified to at least one other platform that works the best for what you're selling, which in this case I would say is Poshmark.
And look, I guess I've been on the platform for 20 years. How many hiccups do you think I have seen in 20 years? Can you imagine the hiccup when we went from cash hidden in an envelope and checks to actual PayPal? Guess what? There was hiccups. We didn't have photos. Then we could upload photos that we had to take and then, upload, which took forever. There was hiccups there. Then also that you could upload directly. There was hiccups there. But guess what? eBay's still here, still making money, selling on eBay. But go work on your other platforms. If you're not, that's foolish. You're going into Q4. When people say, hey, I can't list today, eBay's having a problem. I never had that problem because I list on InkFrog, and InkFrog always pushes it through. Don't work for InkFrog, so I'm not getting paid in case you go use it. But if you don't have InkFrog, that would be a great time to okay, I have never sold anything on Etsy. What vintage stuff do I got laying around here? Mercari is just like a junior eBay. You can pretty much list anything. So go give it a try. It's awesome. When I've been showing people searches lately on Google to show how our stuff comes up. And Mercari is always top 4 when I search a specific product on Google Shopping. So it'll be like 2 eBays, a Macari, and a Bonanza. So if Macari's coming up top 4 and you ain't on it yet, you're missing out. So get there.
Yeah. Will you click on Ginny's comment real quick?
Yeah, the one that just came in?
Yes.
The OGs?
The one above it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. That did not understand that. Okay, so Ginny's asking, so are you saying the person that made the changes did not understand the categorizing clothing? So let me first say, this is not like one person sitting in a cube who just decided to do all this. There are teams of people involved in this process. And a lot of this was really well thought out. Some of these new item specifics needed to be in these categories. And I think what happened was they did not realize, and again, I don't work for eBay, but based on my discussions, what I think they did not realize would happen if they rolled everything out to every clothing category was it was going to then result in this skewed number of item specifics that it thought was missing from your listings and asking you to put in things that don't apply to your listing. So if you kind of look at it from that perspective, it was well intended. It was needed for the platform. It will result in better sales for you. It's just a matter of, I think personally that they needed to say, this is what applies in this category. Is it autographed? Is it signed? Should be in sports memorabilia. You know, rise in seam. Some of the changes they made to pants should be specific to pants instead of everything being applying to everything. And so that's the mentality that you should be taking if you are going to start revising is, does this apply? If it does not apply to your item, don't update it just to make that error go away.
Ta-da! That's it.
Voila, that's it. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah.
I will tell you, as long as we're on the subject, this video isn't about that, but I know that my phone's still in fire as our other people, you know, I'm sure Jason's getting a ton of messages. They are aware of the managed payments issue and the delay in payments. They are aware that some users, a lot of users haven't been paid since the 15th. They are now aware that some of you haven't been paid since the 10th or the 12th. And they are working with that team, managed payment teams, to get this situation in hand and to get you paid. And I have provided some screenshots that have been shared of very specific things. I'm not going to be able to pay my invoice because they actually already have my money. So I've tried to express to them the severity of, you guys need, in managed payments, need to get paid. So there is a lot going on there, but I promise you they're working on it 24/7.
Yep. And, you know, like I said, this was direct from Brian Burke's mouth and his hands since we started the conversation in person and finished it through messaging and email. So unless you're hearing directly from people and getting direct info like Joy and myself, stop listening to the noise. The noise is going to drive you insane and is going to make you think everything is done. And it's not. It's not. I haven't, look, this sucked. Luckily I was away, so I wasn't really listing, but my assistant was. And I didn't sweat about it at all. Now that we kind of got to the bottom of what you should, or in this case shouldn't be doing, I'm like, well, Joy, hey Joy, let's go tell everybody because there's too much bad information out there, and we want to kind of set the record straight. So tonight, your goal is to, after Dancing with the Stars, is it Monday?
I think so.
Yes, it is. Okay. So. After Dancing with the Stars or Monday Night Football, or if you're like me, both, work on some listings on other platforms. Sit down, look at Macari, look at Etsy, look at Poshmark, and get rolling. There is money to be made on all those platforms, and you should have a good 3, 4, 5 solid platforms humming along at all times. So when there is a hiccup, you can just be like, that's cool. Macari's doing well. Posh is doing well. So don't sweat it. But when you want real content, when you want real info, real facts, come to Joy, come to Jason, come to Thrifting Board, come to Jeans with Joy. We are happy to make sure that we get you the real info. And a big thanks and shout out to Bridget for keeping the post going with the up-to-date content as we were busy at Ecom Chicago in the Thrifting Board.
Absolutely.
And no, not The Voice, Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, I'd rather watch The Voice, but you know, I'm still trying to catch up. Like this whole thing has put a little monkey wrench in my own schedule, and I'm getting to as many of your messages as you can. And I know that you guys are freaking out, and I hope you're watching this video, and I hope that you're going to take a deep breath and you know, watch the video a couple of times about what you do and do not need to do. Any update right, will be brought to you. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard. It's easy to get on the bandwagon of some of these people who are the sky is falling, and that their videos are just a big anti-eBay rant. For all their hiccups, they are still the best platform to sell on. That's my main platform. I do Diversify, but it is all going to work out.
It is. Whoa, I'm gonna turn into a monster. All right, with that, we are out of here, and we will see you guys around Jeans with Joy and the Thrifting Board and the Secret Beach and wherever else you may see us. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Keep on listening. Keep on selling. Bye-bye.